Welcome to a special edition of the Fresh Cred, recorded live at Viva Fresh 2025, the premier show celebrating the Tex-Mex corridor, a vital trade route and year-round production hub. These episodes are made possible thanks to our amazing sponsors: SunFed, IFCO, Monterey Mushrooms, EXP Group, AnaVale, Arctic's Produce, AgroGonzáMex, Agrival, Athos, and the Texas International Produce Association. Enjoy the episode.
We are now joined by Mr. Anthony Serafino, president of EXP Group LLC.
Yes.
Anthony, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be with you both.
Well, thank you.
It's great.
That makes me feel good.
Yeah, it makes me feel good as well. Nobody's ever honored to be with me.
EXP,
With hair like that, I'm absolutely honored.
Well, yeah, welcome for sure.
Thank you.
Also, EXP Group is one of our very generous sponsors for this event, so thanks for that as well.
Our pleasure.
Obviously, without the support, we couldn't be here, and we are here and very excited to be at, now this is going to be our last year in Houston for Viva Fresh for a while. We'll be in San Antonio the next couple of years, Dallas the next couple of years after that, and then I guess maybe here. We'll see.
Yep. Looking forward to San Antonio.
How many Vivas have you been to?
Yeah, I was going to say.
This is my first Viva Fresh.
Oh, wow, you're in for a
Well,
treat.
Yeah.
welcome to the best show in the country.
I think it is the best show in the country. The vibe, the ambiance, the people have been fantastic. Texan hospitality is so strong. It's an honor to be here. Our company has been here for a few years, but this is my personal first time here. 10th edition. It's bigger in Texas. Glad to be here.
So I'm going to give my co-host here a shout out.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
This
well,
doesn't happen very often.
So yeah,
Can you put a marker in this?
He is the guy that had the idea to move this show from the island. We used to do it down on Padre Island,
Okay.
small show. This is the guy that pressed for us to move to San Antonio, and he was the chairman of the association in a very difficult time.
Yeah.
Didn't I get laughed at? Were you going to say?
Yeah, everybody thought he just wanted to go play golf, which I was kind of in the same camp. I thought he
Sounds pretty nice.
but I like to play golf, so I was like, I was actually a supporter of his because I liked the idea. But anyway, no, true story. He was chairman, and he was really the guy that pushed for us to move from South Texas up to. I think we did Austin first. We couldn't get into where we wanted. We had our pre-meeting there. We canceled the show that we did for a year. Had a pre-meeting at the Marriott that we'll be going back to next year, and then started in Austin. And geez, kind of blew up. Eddie blew up with a big idea.
The format, isn't completely unique, but it was a big departure for us. Previously, the Texas Produce Convention was more centered around grower shippers and allied industry were the exhibitors. So for us as an allied industry individual, him at the time, but not now, he's grower shipper. But, it was a huge departure from the previous format.
So, yeah, the original format was just a bunch of us getting together and getting drunk and having a good time.
I like
It was actually a lot less work and a lot
Yeah.
more
way
fun.
more fun.
Yeah. I was going to say, it sounds like more fun, right?
It damn sure was.
I would say it was more like a family reunion. Like
Yeah,
more
yeah,
family
Those can
reunion.
get chaotic.
Yeah. So this would
Yeah, they
be-
did.
Yeah.
This format is definitely a lot more commercial and focused and intense, and dare I say, even sometimes that the desperation out there is palpable.
Yeah.
Because you've got a condensed time frame, and you want to get in front of the people you need to get in front of, and you want to get out where you
Yep.
want to get out. So it's good energy. It creates it creates that pop.
I think the energy is really what is contagious, right? When you look at a show like this and the energy that you gentlemen are bringing to it, it just adds a little flair, right? A little gasoline to the fire is always good for the industry. And we're seeing that tremendously on the floor. The floor has been very robust. It's been open for what? A few hours now. And I think you just sense it. Everyone says it's the biggest show yet. Houston's a great city, a vibrant city. You know it for energy, you know it for oil, you know it for renewables. But guess what? It's known for produce, baby, this week, and it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very well put. So how long have you been president of EXP? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe not the log cabin in the woods story, but somewhere.
I won't bore you with that. But believe it or not.
Well, if you did start in a log cabin, we'd like to hear that.
Yeah, we did not start in a log
Okay.
cabin. We started in New Jersey. That's where our headquarters is 20 years ago in October. So this is our 20th year anniversary. It's a company founded by my father. He's currently our CEO. And he founded this company based on being a very strong produce supplier. We felt that our market lacked that quality, that service, that brand, that culture. Those are the pillars of our organization. And we felt the industry, there was a little bit of a gaping hole for that, especially being located just outside the biggest city in our country, New York City. Tri-state area, wow, 23 plus million people. So we started there. First week of sales, 83,000. So moving merchandise and slowly growing and building the company. I've always been involved in the organization. I've been involved for 10 years, ever since I got out of college. I've been the president of the company now for a little over 2 years. So I became the president at 30 years old. I'm 32. And it's been such a fun journey. And I always say, I heard this yesterday at the keynote speaker who was fantastic. A lot of times you don't get to your destination, but the journey getting to that destination needs to be enjoyable. Because if it's not enjoyable, that is the lion's share of your time is going to be spent achieving where you want to go and the destination you want to arrive to. So that journey better be a great time, and it better be enjoyable, and you better like what you do. So we're on that journey at our company. Now we have another location here in Texas, McAllen, Texas, and we have great team members that represent that company down here in Texas. And I love coming down here. The weather's way better than New Jersey, I'll tell you that. But it's been a great ride. We started with tropical fruits and vegetables. Now we're really into the A to Z style. We really want to be the premier. There's so many great companies in this industry, but we try to angle ourselves as the premier provider. And we do things with family values. My father was born in Sicily, and my mother's a Cuban refugee. So I'm first generation American, good mix, Spanish, Italian. So produce is big. And I always tell people, we're not really in the produce business. We're in the people business. And when
I say we're in the energy business.
And guess what? We're in Houston, so that sounds damn good.
But we are. We're the human energy source.
Yeah.
We're the most efficient, cleanest energy humans can consume.
Well, I love that. And it's the truth, because when you sit down with great people that bring good energy, that costs nothing, right? So when you emphasize really having strong values and bringing good energy to the table, I try to bring energy every day to the office, because I realize that energy, that positive vibes are contagious, and your team members feed off that. I mean, I'm just myself, but some of our employees are telling me that, and leadership is something that a lot of organizations lack and a lot of organizations have, and great people are going to gravitate towards great leadership. Sure. So that's what we try to do.
That's awesome. Well,
hopefully not a lot of
so I want to expand a little bit. So tropicals, because I'm curious. You're in New York.
Yeah.
This is a Texas show, so a little bit of a clarity on that, right?
Sure.
So I believe you guys are tropicals.
Yeah, we are tropicals. We're headquartered out of New York City, but we're strong in Texas. You know, we have over 50,000 square foot facility in McAllen. We've made a strong financial commitment to the Rio Grande Valley. Our team members are Texas-based. So this may be a Texas show, but we're a Texas company too. We view ourselves as a national company, touching different crevices of the United States. Sure, our roots and our origination is in the East Coast, but listen, we're in this region. We're in Texas. We're serving this market very well, and we're looking to expand on it.
So do you source everything out of Mexico?
Not everything. Good things we source out of Mexico, of course. But when I say tropicals, right, it's the roots, it's the ethnic merchandise, but we do other things as well, right? Okay. So bananas and plantains are two of our major focus items.
Okay.
But we're doing avocados, we're doing limes, we're doing yuca, we're doing chayote. Those are some items that we do service from Mexico as well. Aloe vera, peppers, all different SKUs of peppers. Well, so Central and South America, and of course Mexico. Mexico is one of the most critical countries for our infrastructure, no doubt. Papaya, I can go on the list.
Wow, quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, but I think the best thing is you're seeing different conversions of merchandise, right? So, potatoes is a great example. Potatoes is an item that we saw being consumed in our country at such a strong clip. Mm-hmm. We're seeing now cassava, yuca really coming into that market, being as an alternative there. There's a white space for both those items, and we're seeing that there's crevices being carved out for that item as well. Yuca, right? That's a tropical that's getting more mainstream notoriety. Papaya, we're seeing that is growing tremendously. I'm seeing a lot of retailers emphasize papaya growth. We're trying to be there as well. Avocados, who doesn't love an avocado, right? Primarily coming from Mexico, but look, Guatemala is trying to make a strong push for avocados as well. Can't be imported into the United States currently, so that production primarily goes to Canada. So I think there's just so many different items that we're getting mainstream consumption from. Avocados from Mexico, they've done a fantastic job as well. Mission Produce, there's a lot of great leaders in the industry. We're trying to piggyback on some of that great momentum.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep.
I was just going to ask, are y'all, say, percentage-wise, if you don't mind sharing, food service, retail, what would you say the mix is?
So, I don't have the exact percentages, but really, we'll service retail, we'll service food service, we'll do wholesaler. Primarily, our business is wholesale. It is a lion's share of it is also retail as well. We're growing in our food service sector, so it's something we made a little emphasis on this year because the food service sector is growing tremendously. Suppliers want things to be more streamlined. So being that middle ground between our suppliers and our constituency, our clientele, I think that's really important. They want a lineage, that supply chain to really be simplified. And we saw this during the coronavirus, right? Where the supply chain kind of got all out of whack, right? But now we're kind of in this new age of the supply chain really doubling down on that. So we're trying to make it as simple as we can for our clientele and for our customers. And there's a lot of other industries that are trying to do the same, not just produce.
So that's a good segue into a hot topic.
Okay.
And we had a session on it yesterday. Was people outside the door, which is tariffs.
I was there outside the door.
Yeah, outside. And so you're obviously dealing with tariffs through some of the countries that you're coming out of.
All of them.
We at SunFed dealt with it for 3 days when it was on Mexico, so we've had a little bit of experience with it, but it was certainly something we didn't want to do long term. But what do you see right now? In other words, how do you, your perspective as running the company, what kind of things are you doing to mitigate that, and how do you see things going forward?
Communication. That is the most critical thing that we're seeing. The tariff tantrum is something that we're trying to manage, and I actually said this internally to our team members. The tariff situation is a more difficult and volatile situation that we're dealing with as a company that I have personally ever experienced.
Yeah.
I thought it was more difficult now than it was during the coronavirus where everyone was mass buying toilet paper and that crazy madness. Please don't do that. You don't need to do that right now. But I think the most important thing is the information is so fluid. So getting that understanding of the fluidity of the situation is super important. Getting on top of it, communicating with our clientele. I had a news network that called me yesterday, and they asked me, when are we going to see the price increases on produce in the tariffs? And I said, immediately. And they go, immediately? I said, absolutely, because our stuff is not wine. It doesn't get better with age. It gets worse. So those costs need to be passed down to the consumer. And I said, it's very delicate in the situation. Dealing with tariffs is, you're not going to foot that bill. So it's going to make things more expensive in a high yield environment where interest rates you're going to have a stagflation situation. So the monetary policy needs to be very, very tight with a situation like this. Trade deals hopefully need to get cut. But we import a lot from China as well. Ginger, garlic, those are some strong tariffs. We're talking triple digits. Yeah. So there's a reason why it was out the door, because everyone is tariffed out. Tariff talk. Initially, it was reciprocal, right? We were getting Canada, we were getting Mexico, and then I think a lot of providers and service providers and companies were just blindsided by 10% blanket tariffs. We got blanket tariffs. That's not what we were told. And I think that's the most important thing, is understanding reciprocality, and a blanket tariff is different. 10% in Dominican Republic, 10% on Haiti, 10% on Jamaica. So those are items that are coming from those countries that we were not anticipating. We were talking avocados. We were talking Canadian merchandise. We were talking, of course, Mexican merchandise. But, I wasn't expecting a 10% tariff on Guatemala, on Nicaragua, on Ecuador. So that's 10%. That's on bananas, on plantains, on items that we weren't really seeing. Costs that are going to be passed down immediately. So it has been a blank show. Yeah.
So are you making, so for you guys strategically, right? I mean, and you're in some items that you're trying to build a following around, right? They're unique items. They got great use cases, great flavors, but it's an item that people don't know much about, and higher prices does not help bring people in. So for you in running the business, are you doing things differently? Are you reducing some of your sourcing? Have you made any? I'm just curious as to how you're approaching it. I mean, you said communication, but how are you approaching it to mitigate your risk?
So we're not mitigating our capital expenditures, if that's what you're asking. We're proceeding as planned because we think the situation is just overtly fluid, right? 1 second they're on, 1 second they're off. We're getting reciprocality. Okay, we just found out this morning that electronics from China, chips, phones, computers are exempt, right? I know that we're not in that industry, but I mean, we're not in consumer discretionary. We are a consumer staple. We are food service providers.
Yeah.
So I think there is such a critical need for obviously produce, but do we really want to have stagflation in our country? I think that's the one thing. So to answer that question in a very simplistic form, we are not mitigating how we're doing things because we feel, and I'm making the concentrated bet that I don't see 10% tariffs standing for a long period of time. I just don't, because I don't know how that can, what's the long game for that, right? Bananas, I use bananas as an example because it's an overtly cheap item.
Yeah.
49 cents a pound, 59 cents a pound. People are still going to consume bananas, right? They're not going to move elsewhere on bananas. So, the consumer is going to pay more money for that item. So, no, I think we're going to double down on what we're doing, and we're hoping that trade deals can be cut and we can move in a direction where people can get clarity. But our clients want communication.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just madness. I mean, what are you guys thinking about tariffs? I mean, what are some of your other...
Mine's out there publicly. I mean, I wrote a deal up on that. The thing is obviously, very frustrating because it's hard to run a business when you don't know what you're going to be.
How can you not have clarity, right? I think business leaders want clarity.
Yeah. Well, 100%. And to have the you said fluid, I'd say chaos.
Yeah. How about organized chaos?
Is it organized? I don't know.
No, it's not. It's certainly not.
But yeah, so my is exactly, the piece that I wrote really was for the consumer, right? I mean, we as an industry, my challenge with how we approach some of these things is we're great at talking to each other.
Right.
And we all, we're all on board, but realistically in this situation, it's the consumer that needs to be made aware of what's going on, because I don't think I know they don't understand how we source stuff, right? Yep. And you can't reshore it. Right.
You can't.
So many of the items you can't reshore here that it's not possible to do it. We don't have the water, we don't have the land, and we don't have the growing climate.
You can't grow a papaya in Houston.
You can't. And so
you just can't.
Although people have tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
have they?
No. Somebody did try in McAllen, but that's a
so anyway, to me,
but you're absolutely right.
And so in politics, there's two things that move them. It's money and votes.
Yeah.
And we don't have money as an industry.
Yeah.
I mean, comparatively. And the reality is we've got to get the voters aware and not let it happen, because if it does go on for a long period of time, you will get damage to the whole, infrastructure of produce, right? And so for me, that's kind of my big push is we've got to really start ringing the fire alarm that, my deal is, if you didn't, if you think egg prices were bad, if you didn't like dealing with that, try the entire produce department.
Yep. $2.99 for an avocado, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're paying at Chipotle. You want guac as extra? Well, guac's about to be $4.99.
Yeah.
$5.99 extra. Are people going to really pay that extra for guac? I love guacamole.
I do.
But what is the push?
There's a point where
there always is. There's a break end, right? What
100%.
is that? We haven't tested those limits yet as an industry. This is where I come in and say communication and ring in the fire alarm, as you mentioned, and making sure the industry understands. And I think we as an industry understands, but the consumer understanding what it takes from farm to table to bring the merchandise that we are curating and we are procuring for our clientele, what it takes to get it to that point. And I think a lot of times, there's a lack of that message being illustrated and being told. You gentlemen are doing a fantastic job, so thank you. But I think that's what needs to be sounded. And I think the Washington Conference for IFPA is going to be critical.
It's going to be a big one this year.
It's going to be critical.
Yeah,
and
we were talking about that because we actually set up last year less of a elaborate setup, but we had some really great conversations, and we want to be there for sure. I think it's going to be a big year.
I mean, I will be there, and I think it's going to be critical because I think more industry leaders need to ring the fire alarm, as you mentioned, because produce is something that we have to eat, right? We're not going elsewhere, right? It's not grocery. You're not going Kellogg to Kirkland, right? Avocado is an avocado, right? Sure, there's different grades, but the consumer just wants the merchandise. Mm-hmm. And a nightmare for any retailer is an empty shelf. This is why they went berserk during the coronavirus, that supply chain snafu. So right now, we're not seeing that. Supply chain is well supplied. How expensive is going to be to operate a business? So are we going to see a consolidation? If these tariffs linger, we should see a consolidation of the industry, which we don't want, right? Because it's going to limit competition and allow monopolization. And that, in my opinion, would be bad.
So you said you attended the session yesterday?
I did.
Okay, so you're clearly well informed and have your pretty strong opinions about it, which is great.
Yeah.
Did you hear anything that you didn't already know?
It's always good to hear what different people know. The answer to that question is no, because everyone just wants clarity, right? We don't know. They're on, they're off. I think that's the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. But I think starting the conversation and talking about it and understanding that the elephant in the room is for everyone to see. Mm-hmm. And once we have that conversation as leaders collectively, we're used to this industry that you have some competitors in the room together, but this is a collective issue, right? We're all on the same team regarding tariffs. Nobody wants tariffs. Nobody. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to promote a free trade. I think that's very important. But I think it's allowing ourselves to have that conversation. Dante did a fantastic job moderating that discussion. And there's a reason why you had people sitting outside in the hallway to listen.
Yeah.
They needed a bigger room, but I already let Dante know about that. But joking aside, it was a great conversation. So no, but I think anytime you're talking about it, you're moving the conversation.
And I also think, I was concerned that it would just be a lot of folks get things off their chest, basically making statements and not asking questions. It didn't seem that way, at least. So because
I thought there was a lot of great questions being asked.
Yeah, but I was afraid that it was going to be that way.
Hooting and hollering.
We've had other issues or other challenges. We usually keep that last session open, almost right leading up to the show, because there's always going to be a hot topic of the time. Compared to planning well in advance, right? You can't really solve for that. But that's good to hear. Also, a lot of folks like yourself. I mean, we spooled up on. I know now more about tariffs than.
I know more about tariffs than I ever thought I would. Let's be honest with you. I joke with our team. I said I'm tariffed out.
Yeah.
I'm tariffed out completely. But it's moving the conversation, right? In one way or another. I want more people to be talking about our industry because I think it's a critical infrastructure, right? Deemed essential, as we heard years ago. But this is not the way I really want the conversation about our industry to be. I don't want that conversation to be told this way.
Yeah.
We do so much good. And illustrating that message is super important. But do we really want to talk about who's exempt, who's not exempt, tariff this, tariff that? There's other ways that we can move the conversation more effectively, in my opinion. And I think as a group, as an industry, as a collective, we need to move the conversation forward because you're right. We move money with votes, right? Or other way around. But I think as a collective, everyone has votes, right? And I think we have to speak what we want to really get the message we want to illustrate. If that makes any sense.
I also think it's a great promo for the association, putting our board member hats on. It's a great example of the importance of being involved in regional associations. Mm-hmm. We all love our national organizations, but the ability to mobilize and having folks with their finger on the pulse of what's going on. I mean, Dante's done a great job of being involved in a lot of these webinars that have been offered at a national level, and become a great resource. So I think it was a great opportunity to showcase, our ability as an association, and the value that we provide.
I always say this, and you're 100% correct. Participating on the grassroots level on your local organization, whether it's TIPA, whether it's SEPC, I can plug them all. That's really where you make the most impact, in my opinion. IFPA does a fantastic job. PMA back in the day did a fantastic job. United Fresh did a fantastic job. We can go down the list. CPMA, I was just in Montreal before I skated down here. They all do great jobs, but when you're on the grassroots level, talking with the local providers of what this industry offers in TIPA, this is why I feel TIPA is the most effective produce association in our country, because how they mobilize, how they educate, I think that's so important. This is one of the most vibrant trade shows I've ever been a part of. SEPC does a good job as well, but people want to have conversations. And I think get involved with your organizations, whether it's In Bloom, TIPA. TIPA does just a great job. And that's how you really make an impact in the community, is by engaging.
Yep. Very well said. I think we're going to clip that out for an ad.
Yeah, I was going to say that
Dante.
yeah.
Cheaper price
Hey,
next
he's
time.
done.
Discount. 1%.
I can't say Dante for sure. From communicating on this and being spooled up, as Ed likes to say, Dante has been super impressive as how he's handled this whole situation. And the tariff talk yesterday, I thought he did a fabulous job running that. Right. So
he's done a great job, and he's been dealing with this for a minute now, whether it was, the Canada on the Mexico side. Now tariffs got on more of a international issue, multi-continental issue. He's navigated this so well. And listen, other trade organizations and produce organizations haven't led the same way as the way Dante has led, in my opinion, and the way TIPA has led. And it makes me damn proud to be a company associated with this organization, associated with TIPA, because engaging, mobilizing, entertaining, educating, all the most critical things possible, he's making it happen. So
That's awesome.
Big kudos to him.
Yeah.
hats off
Very
to
well
Dante.
said.
Good job, Dante.
Hats off. I won't wear one of those hats.
Yeah.
But
Well, won't
talk
wear a
about,
hat.
Talk about
We'll-
messing my hair.
We'll
Yeah.
get you one.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, though,
Yep.
we've covered a lot of stuff, but
It's been great.
personally,
Yes.
just what's something that, one of your passions that we could share with our audience?
Personally?
Like, yeah. What are you into? What sports, hobbies, anything?
I love to run. And
Okay.
I travel quite a bit, about 300,000 miles a year. Crisscrossing, seeing different, I was just in Asia. I love to travel because I think traveling is great for the mind. When you're so focused on being a great leader in an organization, my job is to be a great leader. And I wake up every day and how can I be better? What is one note, one improvement, right? Because I've never met someone so ignorant that you couldn't learn someone from somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important. So to me, running allows me to open up my mind and clear. I do feel that running in different places and running and traveling, I just did a run in Kyoto and I went there with my wife a few weeks ago. That was fantastic. So running is a big passion of mine. I do love sports. I love baseball. That's a big thing for me, but sport is great. It's
Who's your team?
escapism. The Mets. Okay. Yeah, New York Mets. Not a Yankee fan.
You're loyal then.
Yeah, I'm a diehard Mets fan. I love the team, orange and blue. I went to Michigan State, so I love watching the Spartans. My wife and I went to Michigan State. My dog's named after the basketball coach, Tom Izzo. He's a cute little boy. But I think those are some of the passions. You need to have other passions outside of the industry. I don't know what, gentlemen, your passions are, but you got to harness those, right?
So it keeps you going.
It keeps you going.
Yeah.
So,
Weren't you just in Japan?
I was.
Did
yeah.
you run
where'd
in
you
Kyoto?
go?
So went to Tokyo and Kyoto.
I went Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. I loved it.
You said you travel quite a bit, so that wasn't your first time, was it?
No, it was actually my first time in Japan. I've never been to Japan. I don't know if you've been to Japan before.
No, I never been, but I mean,
Cherry blossom season?
No, it was back in January.
Okay.
So, favorite city, Tokyo for me.
Is one of the most orderly places
My God,
I have
it's
ever
such a
been
great
to.
place.
And I live in Manhattan. It's not a clean place. Okay, Tokyo is the complete antonym of Manhattan in the sense of it is so clean. The people are so respectful. I can't tell you how many times I said arigato. So,
arigato is-
arigato gozaimasu. Yeah, thank you very much. But I love Japan. I thought Japan was probably one of my favorite places I've ever been to, up there with Morocco. I thought Morocco is a beautiful place as well.
So yeah, the people and the toilets.
But you didn't
The
answer.
toilets,
Did you run
the
it?
Toto toilets. Can we talk about that?
We've got to up the game in the United
Yeah.
States on the toilets. The toilet game here has to step up. I'm telling you right now.
American standard is not the standard.
No, it is
it's
not.
the
It is
standard.
not.
Or it's not the standard you want, at least.
No, certainly not. Listen,
And they don't just do it like in your room. I mean, you go just about any place.
public restroom.
It's freaking
Boom.
a nice toilet.
It is fantastic.
But you didn't answer my question.
What
did
was
you
your
run
question?
or not? Did you?
I didn't
run
do it. I
Kipper?
did not do any running home.
Oh my
no,
God.
no. I've where
missed a
I
great
used, I used
opportunity,
to run,
apparently.
I used to run
Yep.
all the time, and I just didn't on that particular trip. But
I can't wait to go back.
I'm going back. I'm going back, and I'm going to spend 30, 45 days over there just walking around the country.
It's beautiful. I'm dying to do it. Rode the Shinkansen, the bullet train.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Went up. Did you do any? Or you snow? So snowboarding is one of my passions. Pickleball and snowboarding. are
Okay,
my
I love
two.
pickleball.
That's
I'm a really,
and that's
really
a hell of a combination.
Yeah, I'm a
Pickleball.
really crappy snowboarder. So, no, I can't ski or snowboard, but I know it's a major, major hub for that.
Well, they've got it. But so we didn't go plan. I wanted to do it just to say how I'd snowboarded in Japan, and so they've got the bullet train there that you jump on in the morning, ride up. They drop you right off at the resort. You get out. You rent your boots. You rent clothes. Everything right there. Go do your snowboarding.
Come back.
Get back on the bullet train. You're back in Tokyo. It is. I mean, it's just like everything else over there. It's
Yeah,
just freaking
it's-
dialed in.
It's
man.
a great country. I
golf is
can't
the
wait to
same way?
go. Golf is great. They're very big in golf.
Yeah, huge
Very
golf.
big.
Lots
Right.
of nice golf.
Matsuyama.
I mean-
yeah, but we.
I'm all right. Well, hey,
Yeah.
we play the same equipment.
There you go.
Well, Anthony, we've had a great time. Thanks again for the support.
thank
They're
you.
giving us the high sign. We're going to wrap up, and it's going to get really loud here soon because it looks like lunch is about to be served, which I think I'm ready.
Are you ready for some
Guys,
lunch?
I'm ready for lunch. I heard it's grab and go.
The
So
food's been pretty good. I mean, would you agree?
here
At the show?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
been
Well,
fantastic. That's the one thing about a produce show is the food is damn good.
Yeah.
The food is damn good. I just had, before I came on set here, I just had JC Tropical did a fantastic job in the center in the demo. Plantain chips with some ceviche. Wow.
man,
I
I
mean,
can be jealous.
Sorry, guys. But it was delicious. So, yes,
that's
food
where
is
I'm
great.
going for lunch, right
Yep,
there.
right
I'm
in the
going to
center.
JC
JNC Tropical.
Yeah.
They do
Awesome.
a fantastic. Jesse and his team do a fantastic job.
Well, Anthony, thanks again.
Thanks
you for the support.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it, and hopefully we have you on soon again.
I would love
Yeah.
that. I would love that. Thank you.
JW Marriott in San Antonio next year. You won't be disappointed. It's gonna
I've
be
never
great.
been to San Antonio, so I'm very
Oh my
much
God.
looking forward
Oh
to
my
it.
God.
I
Yeah.
might stop in Fredericksburg to get some wine as well.
And,
So I'm
and
looking
you got
forward to
it. I didn't see you on the pickleball courts this week. Were you out there?
No, but I need to get it. Are there courts out here? Oh, look at that.
Third place, baby.
Wow. Oh
my
Third
gosh.
place.
Are you? You're a better pickleballer than snowboarder. I can tell.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
that much is true. Yeah. But we're doubling the crowd. So we had about 65. So we're going for 120 next year.
I'll be there.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Counting
yeah,
on
You
it.
have my word. EXP Group will be there.
All right.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Anthony.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this special edition of the Fresh Cred, recorded live at Viva Fresh 2025. Stay tuned. We've got more voices from the heart of the produce industry coming your way.